How's it going, Clayton? Last game there were some coverage busts that sprung some big plays. How much of that was just because the quarterback was a little bit unfamiliar and could use his legs, and how much of that was just guys blew the assignment?
It was just a natural plaster situation with the quarterback scrambling on the first one. Then another one was just a bad eye situation by one of our players where they can just it's an easy fix. Hopefully, our guys understand that we've harped on it. Coach Bremer, myself, Coach Gray, just trying to improve and just continue to work on the things that those are mistakes that we can easily fix. But yeah, definitely the first one was a mobile quarterback situation. We just gotta old school plaster rules.
Corey back left.
Clayton, as far as in-game adjustments goes, just kind of, I guess, generically or generally, what's kind of the process of that? Does it take 3 series to kind of see a particular tendency? Who on your defensive staff kind of helps identify some things? How does that work?
Yep. We work as a whole. All of us, we try our best to, we all have assignments throughout the game to make sure we're watching obviously our position and then doing a good job of just charting stuff down. There's a lot of paperwork that goes into it. Just guys are, charting down formations, backfield tendencies, and then hopefully by the time, after about 3 or 4 series, you got to every 1st and 10 they've done this. Every time the back's been here, they've done this. And some of the stuff that we've already collected from the previous 4 or 5 games, the game itself kind of confirms it, and then you kind of go to your plan. All right, well, we knew that if they did this, we would like this, and it just become a hectic 3.5 hours, it feel like. But that's the fun part if it's going right. So.
Colin front right.
Clayton, you mentioned eyes in the defensive back field. I guess how do you teach that? I know it's probably based on different coverages, but what are your kind of sticking points when you're talking to them about where to look and the keys to kind of look for?
It definitely changes during the coverage and the scheme within itself, but most of the time, my old school philosophy, if a guy can run past you and score a touchdown in front of 80,000 people, that's who you should be looking at. So very simple. So you should watch that guy and make sure that he's not the one running past you. So as a defensive back, I always said that, our mistakes show up on the scoreboard. So on the back end, got to be the most disciplined group because unlike a defensive tackle, he may miss his gap. A linebacker can plug the gap. Then all of a sudden, that mistake didn't show up. But a DB's mistake shows up on the scoreboard. So we got to be very disciplined at all positions, but just a little bit more on the back end.
Back to David. Left.
Clayton, the A&M South Carolina game is for a trophy. You get a trophy if you win it. Did you know that?
I did not. So no one's told me about it, but I'm just excited about the opportunity to go to Texas A&M and compete against those guys and hopefully next.
Let's go to Colin front right.
Clayton, it seems like Zach Pickens has put together 2 back-to-back pretty good games. What have you seen from him, and how important is that for this defensive line to get a guy like him going and playing consistently?
Yep, Zach's a talented football player, big guy who plays very hard. He practices very well. He takes coaching, so it's really good to see those guys. Anytime a defensive tackle starts to get in the spotlight, that means that he's doing a lot of good work and doing some good things, and people are taking notice. But with his talent and his ability, you definitely love to see him continue that trend, and I think he's doing a great job. Him and Coach Lindsey, Coach Shaq Wilson, those guys are coaching their butts off up there, and it's starting to show off. And Jabari's playing well, and then the better the ends play and the better the linebackers play because we play aggressive. The double team now comes off Zach, and then it's hard for one guy to block Zach. So it's a team defense like I talked about last week, but his play could be because of someone else is doing their job as well. But it's nice to see him get some production.
Let's go to Hale back middle.
It seemed like the first few weeks, the defensive ends, the way they sort of rotated, the starters would get a lot of the third down, obvious passing situation stuff. But I think the last few weeks you guys maybe mixed up how that rotations looked.
Yep.
Is that something that y'all try to make a conscious decision to do to get, Burch and Strawn out there for some of those situations?
Yes, as the season went on, we felt more comfortable. Those guys obviously getting more reps. Our first 2 games we didn't play a lot of snaps, so when we was getting off the field on third down a lot, so it wasn't that many snaps. So now the games are a little bit longer. The games are different, so we're getting more reps at third down. Want to be better there, but that's what's going on. We just getting more reps at third down, and our guys, we feel like we have 4 really good guys that can. There's no drop off when they come in. We just want to continue keeping that rotation because I know if you got fresh guys that can rush the passer late in games, like we did last week, it can pay off big time.
Let's go to Ben behind the camera. Front.
Clayton, kind of similar thing, but and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like we've seen a little bit more of Debo as well, just at linebacker. I guess just how has that changed? Maybe with Sherrod down, how much have his reps maybe increased, if at all? And I guess what does he give to this group when maybe you need to find a little bit more depth with Sherrod down?
Yep, when Sherrod been down, obviously a lot of other guys had to step up. Debo's still in the process of adjusting to this style of play and this college football thing. I think he's doing a really good job on his special team role, and we're still trying to find a way to get him some more reps at linebacker and just continue to improve.
Let's go to Mike, front right.
Clayton, obviously Jalen's having a great season, but for some of the guys that have either transferred in or this is their first opportunity really playing Division I football, what have you seen from that defensive back group in particular and their growth in just being able to adapt, not just to being able to make plays on the field, but obviously dealing with environments like obviously the one that you guys are going to be playing at this weekend?
I think the most important thing those guys are doing is a day-to-day process. You can't just come out here on a Saturday or a Friday and say, it's time to go. I like how they're working from as soon as the game's over with, they're ready to move on to the next one. I think that's the first thing that I'm impressed with those guys, and that's how they work well together. For a lot of new guys coming in, I think that the defensive back room has done a good job of just trying to gel together with Coach Gray and all of us as a staff and just be on the same page as much as we possibly can. We know that this wasn't the deepest room coming into the season, so, we need all of us by committee. So they're doing a good job of that.
Let's go back to Hale in the middle.
With Texas A&M and what they do on offense, how different is it facing a team that does some of the things that they like to do?
Those kind of offenses where, Coach Fisher's been around for a while and very, very successful football coach, head coach, and offensive coordinator. So he's been around the block, so he has athletes that he can kind of sprinkle all over the field. He's playing with Calzada at quarterback, and he has, he's a quarterback producer. He understands the game. He understands what defenses are trying to do. So that makes it kind of difficult to make sure that you're not showing your hand much as possible. I think the most important thing is it's going to come down to fundamentals still is, tackling in space and getting off blocks and gang tackling and playing in your gap and being on top of routes. So all that stuff is still going to play a major role, but definitely difficult to defend and continue that and go through a whole 4 quarters defending it for 80 plays if need be.
Have you ever been out at College Station for a game played, Coach?
I have not, so.
What have you heard about, what do you know about sort of that environment out there?
I've heard it's one of the best ones in the country, and I know I recruited Texas high school football for 6 years of my coaching career, and if it's anything, if the high school games in Texas are something to be at, so I can only imagine what a Texas A&M. I played in Austin before and at Baylor. Those were unbelievable environments, but I just know that things I've heard about Texas A&M it's going to be special, so I'm excited for it, to be honest with you.
Anything else for Coach White? Appreciate it, Coach.
Thank you. Y'all take care.